Television show tonight at 6:30.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. 3 weeks to Election Day. George Bush is now generally following a strategy of trying not to mess up and not blow the win he and others believe he has sewed up. Bush today stuck to the familiar and tried nothing new, again attacking Dukakis as unworthy on defense and foreign policy. For his part, Mike Dukakis campaigned long and hard and aggressively in Ohio today, one of the big need-to-win states for him. He attacked Bush's record on helping American workers and for saving victory before the race is over. Popping champagne in their penthouses is the way he put it. Bruce Morton, traveling with the Dukakis campaign, begins our coverage.
We love this man! We love him!
Sometimes when you're losing, it doesn't feel like you're losing. Today, Dukakis played to a big, enthusiastic crowd in Cleveland, but he is losing here. Both sides agree.
Well, right now, we're comfortably ahead.
It's an uphill battle, and my only hope, if I hold out any hope at all, is just this undecided vote.
Polls in Ohio show Dukakis more than 10 points behind George Bush. They do show undecided voters who don't feel very strongly about either man. Ohio matters because it's big, 23 electoral votes, and because it's a model of America. Parts of the state are the Rust Belt, depressed, still trying to recover and cope with a changing economy, and the knowledge that the old high-paid jobs may never come back. Parts like the capital, Columbus, booming, full of construction and men in new gray flannel suits. Dukakis' campaign has had special problems here, a state government battling corruption charges, and a failure to find a message.
The Bush message is in Ohio is the jobs, peace, and the prosperity issue, and I think that Dukakis has not been able to focus on a specific issue.
So the candidate has been getting advice from a supporter at Shorty's Diner, a Cleveland landmark.
Let's kick some ass out there. Okay, all right.
And from professionals, much the same thing.
I want him to turn into a Harry Truman and to be a fiery, aggressive candidate.
Today, Dukakis seemed to be trying to do that.
I'm here in the industrial heartland of our country because I want to be a president who stands up and fights for you.
George Bush, he was saying, won't.
His record says to middle-class families, the glory days are over. Your kids may not do as well as you're doing. His record tells America's industrial heartland, let it rust.
At the end, they gave him a trumpet, but whether this state will dance to his tune remains a question. Ohio matters not just because it's big and typical, but because it has voted for the winner in 23 of the last 25 presidential elections. When you're losing, everything is a symbol. Will you just keep rolling gutter balls, or will you knock down some pins? The Democrats you talk to in Ohio all say it's very uphill for Michael Dukakis. The Republicans say we only worry about overconfidence. Dan?
Thanks, Bruce. As Dukakis attacked George Bush today for not caring enough, not doing enough for hurting industries in the Rust Belt, George Bush was again hitting his Dukakis is weak on defense theme out west. Bob Schieffer is covering the Bush campaign in Denver.
As he toured Martin Marietta's huge Denver missile plant, aides said Bush's strategy in the final weeks of this campaign is to stress his experience in national security matters and keep Michael Dukakis on the defense. With 2,500 company employees looking on, former Defense Secretary James Schlesinger tried to buttress that, suggesting groundwork done by Bush had made the recent arms control treaty possible.
Remember this about the INF treaty. If we had followed Governor Dukakis' advice and the advice of like-minded nuclear freeze proponents, there would never have been any such treaty.
Bush's people believe the Reagan defense buildup remains one of their strongest cards, and today Bush's promise was more of the same.
We called our policy peace through strength. That policy was supported by the American people in 1980, reaffirmed in 1984, and it's going to be reaffirmed again in 1988.
Accusing Dukakis at one point of totally misunderstanding the military, he made his strongest pitch yet for the so-called Star Wars missile defense.
I'm determined to press ahead. I will not leave America defenseless against ballistic missiles.
Bush's speech coincides with new campaign commercials released today, which will emphasize defense and foreign policy. Some like this will be serious.
This is no time for uncertainty. No time to train somebody in how to meet with the Russians. This is the time for strength and experience.
Another ad which hits the air tomorrow will take a lighter tone, featuring, you guessed it, Michael Dukakis's famous tank ride.
What you won't hear from Bush in the coming weeks is anything strikingly new or different. Now that he's running ahead in the polls, he and his campaign plan to play it safe from here on, emphasizing only proven themes and proposals that they've already outlined. It's all part of the plan not to mess up, as Bush said this weekend in the final days of the campaign. Dan?
All right, Bob, thanks. The Teamsters Union today endorsed George Bush for president. The Teamsters generally have endorsed Republican presidential candidates, including Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan. This time, the Teamsters refused to endorse Bush's running mate, Dan Quayle. A follow-up tonight to our report last week about what may be the sleaziest, nastiest U.S. House of Representatives race out of all 435 seats being contested this election day, the race for Georgia's 4th congressional district outside Atlanta. The incumbent, Republican Pat Swindle, was indicted today, 10 counts of lying under oath, perjury, to a federal grand jury investigating drug money laundering. Swindle says he hopes to be tried and cleared before the election. And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, correspondent Frank Courier on the crisis of the Roman Catholic Church in Detroit.
Did you hear about Murphy? He switched our long distance.
On his own?
He made an executive decision.
I can't believe it. He's got 10 years in, kids in college. Didn't he think about his profit sharing, his pension?
Does Foster know?
Foster knows.
So, what happened to poor Murphy?
He got promoted.
MCI. Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. Let us show you.
Morning, Joanne.
This was approved, yes?
Right, and Steve knows about to change the exclusion of the top 10.
This is my husband, Michael. He's under a lot of pressure, but now he's doing things differently. Like taking the stairs, eating more fruit, and cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook the foods he loves with Puritan oil. Puritan has no cholesterol and is 94% saturated fat-free. I've got an idea.
The health club before dinner. Great.
Michael is feeling wonderful. And I am too.
Puritan. Make it your oil for life.
Mom sure make life easier. Mine did. Like another mom, Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Phillips Mom helps your body work naturally for easy overnight relief. Even has this convenient dosage cup. Nobody treats you better than Mom.
In a new survey, we asked 1,000 doctors if stranded in the middle of nowhere, would they want Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? Doctors chose Bayer, 3-to-1 over extra strength Tylenol. Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Demonstrators opposed to Reagan-Bush administration policy in El Salvador showed up by the hundreds well before dawn today to try to block off entrances to the Pentagon. Some carried candles, some carried crosses, and pounded them into the ground to make a symbolic graveyard. More than 200 were carried off and arrested when they sat 4 and 5 deep in front of Defense Department employees trying to get inside. The United States agreed today to increase aid to the Philippines as the price for maintaining key U.S. military bases on the islands. CBS News State Department correspondent Wyatt Andrews has our report.
The deal amounts to a 2-year lease extension, with the United States agreeing to a 167% rent increase. The Philippines will now get $481 million a year in cash, military, and foreign aid, while the United States keeps its rights over Clark Air Base and the Subic Bay Naval Base, 2 of the most strategically important American bases anywhere.
It's roughly equidistant from all of the main theaters of operations where the U.S. Navy and Air Force may want to move quickly.
The agreement brought handshakes and smiles at the State Department, but the tension left from the negotiations was evident. The Philippines reportedly wanted but didn't get $1.2 billion a year for the base rights, along with greater rights to prosecute American servicemen. The ink wasn't dry before both top diplomats hinted this could all fall apart when the deal is renegotiated 2 years from now.
The reaction of the people, of course, to this package would be relevant to the president's decision on those options.
I would say both countries are keeping their options open.
The tough talk is not just casual. President Corazon Aquino faces Philippine nationalistic pressure not to permit the U.S. bases at all. The tough bargaining has led the Pentagon to study where else in the Pacific the United States could move and still strategically defend so much of Asia. The answer so far, nowhere. The base agreement has to be sold now to the Philippine public. There's no longer Marcos around to mute the opposition. And the need for a saleable package has led to a few bizarre twists. The U.S. promise not to send servicemen infected with AIDS to the Philippines, for example, had to be put in writing and is now part of the base agreement. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, the State Department.
Mexico has yet a new economic crisis due partly to a recent drop in oil prices, and today the United States said it would offer its neighbor a short-term emergency loan of $3.5 billion. The U.S. Treasury said Mexico deserves help because of its new austerity measures designed to hold down prices, wages, and the budget deficit. Iran was sending out what some saw as peaceful signals today. The foreign minister said Iran has agreed to a UN proposal to clear the Shatt el-Arab waterway, which forms the southern border with Iraq. The waterway has been blocked for years by ships wrecked in the Gulf War.
Introducing the next Eagle, Eagle Summit, a small front-wheel drive car that feels big, thanks to a surprisingly supple suspension and amazing interior room. But when you add Summit's optional 16-valve dual overhead cam engine, it gets small again.
Are you getting more than you want out of your high-fiber cereal? Like sodium and added sugar? If what you want out of your high-fiber cereal is high fiber, you should be eating Fiber One. You get more fiber with Fiber One, and Fiber One is low in sodium and has absolutely no added sugar. So get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Get Fiber One.
Folks, for dentures that feel fresh as a morning breeze, try my Mint Fresh Polident. It's got a minty mouthwash ingredient, so it freshens up dentures as it cleans tough stains. Try Super Strength Polident Green, the mouth freshening clean. Ah.
When my minor arthritis pain acts up, even little things are a big effort. But I don't take aspirin anymore. I take Advil. Advil gives me hours of relief from arthritis pain, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
31 people are known dead from the crash of a Uganda Airlines jet early today in Rome. 21 others survived, many of them critically injured, but some with just minor burns. Correspondent Mark Phillips reports.
An aged 707 crashed in fog in the middle of the night. It plowed through buildings, tore through a rental car lot, smashed into uncountable pieces, and caught fire. Yet almost half the people on board lived to tell the harrowing tale.
There was a loud bang. And that's all I remember.
As the mist lifted around the crash site today, the extent of the damage became clear. Less clear was how anyone managed to survive. Still, there are lessons in the Uganda Airlines crash about who lives and who dies in these tragedies. The survivors all tell similar stories about where they were sitting.
We were on the wings, I think, because cargo was in front of us and passengers were behind us, and because we had the baby.
With the entire front of the plane loaded with cargo, many of the survivors were seated immediately behind, where the wings meet the fuselage. In fact, many of the passengers seemed to survive the impact. Fire was the killer.
I was traveling with my baby, but my baby got burnt. I think I haven't seen him.
Those who lived were either thrown clear or stayed cool and managed to get away fast.
People were screaming, yelling, crying for help. They were really crying out. But I just ran off. I didn't wait for nothing, you know.
Just how the plane came down about a mile short of the runway is still being investigated. But already there is speculation that the pilot either misunderstood the air controller's instructions or mistook some highway lights for runway lights in the fog. Those who lived are amazed.
And a few scratches.
They were either in the right place, or did the right thing, or were very, very lucky. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Rome.
2 scientists from the United States and 1 from Britain won the Nobel Prize in Medicine today. The Americans are Gertrude Elion and George Hitchings of the Wellcome Laboratories in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Over 40 years of research, they found that certain chemicals could block the development of cancer cells and disease-causing organisms without damaging normal cells. This led to a series of new drugs to fight leukemia, malaria, herpes, and AIDS. British researcher Sir James Black was honored for his work on drugs to treat ulcers and heart disease.
These days, Americans are eating foods that are low in cholesterol. Or are they? Cooked in butter, even these aren't as cholesterol-free as they could be. That's why there's Butter Flavor Pam Cooking Spray. It has a buttery flavor, yet adds no cholesterol. So you can pick foods that are low in cholesterol and keep them that way. Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
Welcome to a room unlike any you've ever seen. A room where the light comes on automatically when you enter, then goes off when you leave. Where you never have to flip a switch, pull a string, or wish you had an extra hand. Every room could be this convenient if you add a First Alert sensor switch. It automatically turns the lights in any room on and off. Sensor switch from First Alert. Isn't there room for one in your home? Look for the complete sensor switch line.
Action, liquid vanish, 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 clean so good, good, and fresh and stew,
Liquid Vanish cleans tough rust stains below the waterline better than Lysol.
Action, liquid vanish.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath, long about a Saturday night. Gloved up, got a clog in my tub, but Liquid Drano fixed it up right.
Liquid Drano, the liquid strong enough to be called Drano.
A new report today says the economic gap between black families and white families has widened over the last decade, with the trend growing worse last year. A spokesman for the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities said that in 1987, the income of the typical black family was just 56.1% of typical white family income. This study also finds that although unemployment among blacks dropped significantly in recent years, that drop has not been matched by comparable increases in black family income or declines in black poverty. Among Detroit's Roman Catholics these days, there are a lot of questions and accusations. The charges center around a plan announced by the Archdiocese. And the question being asked is why? Why is the church doing this? Frank Currier looks tonight at the proposal and the protests.
Detroit's St. Ignatius Church is celebrating 40 years this month, but parishioners fear it is not an anniversary, but a funeral.
Apparently, the only crime we're charged with is being poor, and I didn't know that that was a crime in the Christian faith.
Declining church membership in the old neighborhoods and a critical shortage of priests have forced the financially troubled Detroit Archdiocese to close up to a third of the city's 112 churches, the most sweeping single cutback in Roman Catholic history.
Money certainly has to be a consideration. We live in a world where we need money.
You never think of a church is going to close. It's just like a death. It's worse than even like a death in the family.
The huge sanctuaries built years ago, often only blocks apart, were spiritual lifelines to thousands of immigrants, like Lucy Jerzak, who has worshipped at St. Stanislaus Church for 60 years.
We don't see why Archdiocese should be closing our church when we don't ask them for anything. So why should they close us?
But decades of factory shutdowns and an exodus of the white middle class to the suburbs have left Detroit with a poor and predominantly black inner city, and scores of near-empty churches like St. Stanislaus, whose few remaining members say old country Polish prayers before church basement bingo games.
Really takes something out of a man, that's what it does. Especially not only me, but for all these senior citizens that helped build this church up.
In this city of 100,000 Catholics, the only Midwest stop on the Pope's U.S. tour a year ago, the 48 churches targeted for closing are more than landmarks. They are the heart and soul of Detroit's parochial schools and havens for the elderly, the indigent, offering aid and comfort.
It's like you've taken a lifeline away from the people in that area.
The proposal, which could leave up to 10,000 Catholics without a church, is the most depressing economic news of the year in a city already battered by a drug crisis and the highest murder rate in America. So hundreds of parishioners are joining protest rallies to sign petitions and plan lawsuits, while every church due to close is appealing the recommendations.
I don't think the rest of the nation should look in on Detroit and say, what an awful archdiocese. Their people moved, and they have a real estate problem. I think that's what it comes down to.
And while some black clergy see the closings as a chance for the archdiocese to redirect new money into inner-city schools and black parishes, it seems little consolation for people like Lucy Jerzak.
I've been brought up in this neighborhood. I come to this church all the time. This is my church. This is where I want to be buried.
For so many, what's at stake is as much a symbol of hope for the future as it is an ethnic link to the past. Frank Currier, CBS News, Detroit.
First Lady Nancy Reagan's press secretary today confirmed that Mrs. Reagan has continued to wear expensive designer clothes she borrowed from top U.S. fashion houses. The spokeswoman also confirmed that this broke a 1982 promise to stop doing that, saying, and I quote now, "She broke a little promise and forgot." An unprecedented alliance of Eskimo whale hunters, Greenpeace environmentalists, big oil interests, the government, and the military all today played team, trying to push efforts to free a trio of gray whales trapped in northern Alaska's Arctic ice. The whales are battered and weakened by their constant battle to surface for air inside shrinking air holes, a battle that has left their noses worn right down to the bone. The largest of the whales is a mature adult, 30 to 40 feet long. These whales have been trapped for more than a week in record sub-zero cold near Point Barrow, the northernmost community in the United States. The all-out rescue effort includes the National Guard's largest helicopter, the Sky Crane, being flown in to tow an experimental hovercraft-type barge. The plan? To pulverize the ice and blaze a 7-mile trail to open water for the whales. Eskimos, environmentalists, and others are using chainsaws to try to enlarge the shrinking air holes until the icebreaker arrives. The whales, an endangered species, calve off Baja California and spend the summer feeding in the Beaufort Sea. These three stayed too long and were trapped before beginning their westward migration down the Pacific coast to warmer waters off California. Said one government official, "I've lived in Alaska for 15 years, and this is the only time I've seen this many people work together on anything of this magnitude."
Do what you want with the girl, I want the car.
We have an insight.
My father's Moore, Roger Moore. He's not the only one who'd love to get his hands on my new Oldsmobile Trofeo. It's precisely the kind of sophisticated technology he's always relied on. A visual information center, FE3 suspension. It's everything he's dreamed a car could be.
This is not your father's Oldsmobile.
Sorry your friends couldn't make it.
This is the new generation of Olds.
Last year, half of our sales were of products that didn't even exist 5 years ago, like our pacemaker that changes speed to meet demands on the heart. We're Siemens USA, leaders in medical engineering, telecommunications, energy, automation, and electronics, with 23 research and development centers coast to coast, helping to build a stronger, more productive America. We are Siemens USA.
No one knows I just got dentures, and I don't want anything to blow it.
Fixodent and forget it. Fixodent helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream. Use Fixodent and forget it.
Phone calls, deadlines, stomach complaints, my job, and my Lanta 2.
Double strength My Lanta 2. Nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading brand.
Because my life takes my Lanta 2.
And finally tonight, a reminder that this golden autumn means something more than presidential politics, even more than the World Series and the football season rounding into shape. For all of us, politician and sports star, rich and poor, city dweller and rural resident, depend on a few inches of topsoil and rain at the right time. That's what puts food on our tables. And this is the time of the great American harvest. For one crop, a few critical make-or-break weeks in which technology accommodates itself to nature and a rhythm as old as history.
Sugar beet. It's a very frantic time of the year. You get worked into kind of a frenzy for the beet harvest, and you have to be psyched up for it, like the big game. KYB 383 calling Nacho.
Yeah?
Nacho, when you get to the other end, why don't you go down onto the highway there and take the blacktop straight east.
Okay.
Mother Nature puts the rush on us. We are always in danger in this part of the country. The beet's freezing in the ground.
Moving 5.5 to 6.5 million tons of sugar beets, working 24 hours a day for that 2 to 3 week period, we consider it the most dramatic movement of a crop to market of any place in the world.
The toughest time is about the hour before the sunlight comes up in the morning. Man, that's tough. Once the sun comes up, it seems like you get a second wind or something. We go till we drop. You can't go right across by the farm. You have to go to the south, the cement bridge. All righty. One of the drivers we have is a heavy equipment salesman, and he didn't even take a vacation. He just takes off at 5 and works till 1 at night. Got several students. One of them's my daughter. People from the community just take time out and help with the beet harvest.
You have to keep moving, getting this load as fast as I can, as safe as I can to the plant.
This industry in the Red River Valley is responsible for 15,000 jobs directly, another 15,000 jobs indirectly. That's a lot of salaries and a lot of taxes and a lot of people going to work. The beets move into the factory by a second truck when it's time for them. Through a mechanical, chemical, heat, pressure process, the sugar in the beet is extracted, dried, granulated, and bagged. A little more than half the sugar produced in the U.S. the past few years comes from sugar beets.
It's amazing how you can get the white sugar out of that beet.
Sugar from here, good as there is. Pure, proud and sweet. That's our motto. It sure is.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, Bangladesh, weeks after the flood and still in danger.
Plus, the small investor in Wall Street on CBS This Morning.
This is